And from all you've seen, who's impressed?
Maybe not so much from a production standpoint, but I think a really I think it's like the next best thing with Trey Lance. Like Trey Lance is the first good. For me, it's Dee Ford. I think it's huge that he hasn't missed, knock on wood, he hasn't missed a practice yet. And the one that he missed, it was a maintenance day. So guys get maintenance days all the time. It doesn't really, matter too much. And I think it was either Jason Ponte or Splash Cousin tweeted out that Dee Ford was going against 11s, was in the 11v11s today. And that is huge because I'm of the opinion that if he is fully healthy and when he plays, he is a top 5 player on this roster. I don't think there's not many other people in the league that can do what he does at the level that he can do it at. And the questions that have always been with Dee Ford is, can he just stay on the field? And even if it's just for passing downs this year, that is a huge help because I don't think they're expecting him. They didn't really sign him to be a run stopper on the edge. They signed him to get sacks, and you can only get sacks when the quarterback is attempting a pass. It's that simple, right? So when he's in on those passing downs, I think that's going to be huge, especially with Bosa hopefully being back on the other side, being at the level of health that he can be at. Zach Kerr's had a pretty good camp thus far, and Javon Kinlaw in year 2, Eric Armstead. That defensive line is really, really deep. Maybe not to the level of top heavy talent in 2019, because I don't know if any of those guys are still better than DeForest Buckner. But it's a very promising sign. If they can get some production out of Dee Ford this year, it's better than not having any production at all. So I think it is huge that he is hasn't had to miss a practice yet. I think that's one of my main gets.
Yeah, that was at the top of my list too. That's who I was going to pick with one of my first or second picks as well. I think for Dee Ford specifically, if you go back to 2019, you brought that up. In 2019, he had the second best pass rush win rate on the team out of the entire defensive line, 15%. He was winning of his pass rushes. Last year, that was 7%, obviously a smaller sample size. But I think going back to what you're saying, if the Niners can get good production from Dee Ford on third downs, if they can create pressure on obvious passing situations where they otherwise weren't getting it from Dee Ford, it's an absolute plus for this defensive line. And I think it upgrades the potential of this 49ers defense from being a really good defense to a potentially great defense. I'm not going to say that they will be great necessarily, but it raises the ceiling of what the 49ers defense could look like this year if Dee Ford is on this team. And I think it does significantly change the outlook of this season if we can get a healthy Dee Ford and if the 49ers can expect to get anything from him. Because, Vinny, the word before the season was that Dee Ford might just end up retiring. It was really dire. So just to see him out at practice, and then like you were saying today, it seems like he's at 11 on 11s. Things seem to be trending in the right direction for Dee Ford. I'm going to knock on wood because I just said that out loud, but I think Dee Ford was a great pick.